I saw another movie, now I'm going to talk about it. Hey there everyone, welcome back. As always, before we get into it, here is the spoiler warning for this film, Retribution. Retribution stars Liam Neeson, playing Matt, a stockbroker, with a strained relationship with his son, daughter, and wife. As he takes his kids to school, he receives a phone call telling him that there is a bomb underneath his seat and it will explode if he gets out of the car or if he does anything that the person on the other end of the phone does not like. So then obviously the rest of the film takes place in the car as he drives here and there, performing whatever tasks is asked of him, and at the same time, over this life and death situation, the relationship between himself and his family is somewhat restored. Pretty standard action film type stuff, and honestly pretty standard Liam Neeson type story. Like I said, this movie really just revolves around its one location, which only works if you've got a interesting story to tell in that one location, which this really doesn't. It's not got much to go on in that department. It's just another generic, safe action film with some kind of half-baked emotional moments. I generally like Liam Neeson as an actor. I think he's pretty good, but I really don't think this film was his best work. The performance throughout was kind of flat, and it just wasn't really helped by the script at all. So my impressions of that are either it's Liam Neeson paying the bills, or be really, really bad script that no actor can really make into an enticing performance, or probably C, a bit of both. The twist villain reveal isn't that interesting either. It's teased and implied in the film that something in Matt's past might have a connection to what is happening to him now. It's shown that Matt is your, pretty typical semi-shady stockbroker where he will get people to invest in stocks that might not work out, but he's just really, really good at talking people into it and negotiating a deal, which is a part of his personality that I'll touch more on later, but that kind of just disappears. It's also revealed that he and his boss, I think it was his boss, I'm going to call it his boss for the sake of ease, they have a offshore bank account that contains a lot of money in emergency collateral. All this would generally lead to the type of story where Matt is brought to question his capitalistic ideas by someone that was wronged by him in the past and is now taking revenge. Who and why specifically being revealed as the film goes on, which is still a pretty generic film, but it's engaging enough. But no, the twist villain is that it's his boss. His boss is the one that's doing all this in order to get Matt to liquidate that collateral fund so that he can take all of that 200 million euros for himself. And then the motivation purely becomes greed and not any sort of subtext of the downtrodden and what they're pushed to do under certain circumstances, which would have been interesting. No, we just get boring white rich guy that wants more money and will kill to get it in a very, very convoluted way. Building on what I said about Matt's character earlier and him in the film being known for being able to strike that deal and get the investors back on board, I feel like that would have been an actually fine and interesting way to keep his character throughout the film. For example, have him keep doing the tasks like he's doing, but have him be hatching some sort of plan, a proper plan, or be able to talk down the aggressor, cut some sort of deal with them to let them out. Instead, all he does is just say, I don't know who you are, and I'm sorry for whatever I did to you. And then that doesn't work. And then he tries the exact same thing about 5-10 minutes later, and it doesn't work again. So he tries it again. And if that's his methods of negotiation, I don't know how he's managed to get this much money in his career. And finally, as the film begins to reach its climax and Matt is cornered by the authorities who have been chasing him because he's been framed for the events in the film, he doesn't even talk his way out of that. Fair enough, he's angry and annoyed and things, but it just becomes Liam Neeson going on a blood hunt through the city as he tries to get this guy that's responsible for him, and that kind of just crumbled what was left of the character for me. There aren't really any technical errors that I can point out. The film had money, and it shows, so it looks fine. Nothing spectacular. The only sort of complaint I have on that side is a couple of places with continuity or like order of events. First one I want to talk about is at the very end of the film as he unbuckles his seatbelt and falls into the river below, falling straight out of his door. If you imagine this is the car and he's falling straight out, you kind of imagine him to be like falling this way. But as it cuts from a shot inside the car to a wide shot, he's suddenly like out here. And I don't know how he got out there. It was just really confusing. The second point of that is when his daughter gets injured by shrapnel. So you see the explosion, boom, boom, shrapnel hits the car, you kind of see it, and then you see that she's got a piece of shrapnel in her thigh, which has the door here. There's really not much effort put towards showing that the shrapnel even made it through the door in the first place. At least one close-up of a hole being punched through the car door would give us some more context, because when I saw it, I was like, okay, the windows blew out. That might hit them in the neck, it might hit them in the face, it might be, whoa, interesting. And then she revealed that she had a piece of shrapnel stuck in her leg. And it took me out of it for a second. I had just to stop and think, like, oh, did it go through the car door? They didn't show that. And then so for the next, like, 5 or so minutes of the film, I had to go out of my way to look for a shot that showed that car door to see if there were holes in that car door, which, fair enough, credit where it's due, it was there. That's really just a small thing that should be expected and taken for granted. The ending was also extremely unsatisfying. The wrap-up of the plot goes something like this. He gets his way out of the car, it blows up with the villain inside, he falls into the river below, he swims away to the shore, climbs out, looks back at the bridge, sees the Europol officer that has been leading the investigation against him. She sees him, she kind of gives him like a little nod, and then it cuts to credits. That's the end of the film. Not 5 minutes after the main big story event has happened, and it's over. Film's done. We don't get any insight into the aftermath, good or bad. It just kind of ends. Granted, there are like radio news broadcasts that play over the first minute of credits, but those are kind of hard to hear, and I couldn't really gain anything from them when I tried to listen to them. I didn't like this movie. It was hard to sit through, even though it was only an hour and a half. Which, at that point, again, you have more time. Where was the rest of the ending? That aside, this is one that, if you've somehow made it through this whole review without having seen the film already, don't bother, don't go see it. And if you have seen it, I'm sorry that you watched it too. But that's all that I've got to say about the film. If you have any opinions about the film, make sure you leave them in the comments below. While you're down there, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, all of that helps us out a lot. You can also subscribe to our Patreon by going to the link in the description below, where you get access to these reviews a few days early, as well as some other extra content. And executive producer level patrons get their names put right here at the end of our videos and in our credits. Thank you for watching this far, and we'll see you next week. Bye!